of our pivotal moment. I wanted all of you to see the Medal of Freedom, but it will say family. I'm staring at the back of it. Can you do that lengthy? Each of you is a little of a heritage. It's the first and last time on the back. I really will shortly. I don't give a damn. Thank you. Here's Erica Kirk laughing, grinning, and showing off her Medal of Freedom as if it were a fashion statement. Something about that clip didn't feel right, and viewers couldn't take their eyes off of it. People were astounded by what body language experts discovered when they went into full detective gear and dissected it frame by frame. Here's the actual query that's being discussed behind closed doors. Is this the typical behavior of a spouse following such a well-publicized loss? Or is there something more profound going on that the general population isn't aware of? Since everyone experiences shock in a different way, there is no one right approach to deal with it. But let's face it, many were hooked to their televisions because of the atmosphere. I'm just thrilled. I know that God will use all of this to further Charlie's legacy and glorify him, so it's strange and surreal to say that I'm excited. Charlie is in heaven just because he is cheering us on. He's really cheering us on. Yes, I am aware. In conservative circles, Charlie Kirk was a household name. Young, passionate, and often in the forefront of discussions. Whether you like him or not, the man had a unique vibe. And that's precisely why those who have followed his path for years find this abrupt shift in tone so odd. Then a few days later, Erica showed up. And once more, nobody is making judgments about how someone ought to manage. However, the internet quickly noticed an odd discrepancy between the circumstances and her demeanor. Even the strange timing, the official pronouncements, and a number of flaws that simply don't match up were criticized by Joe Rogan, who is renowned for delving into unsettling minutiae. He never claimed to be an expert. The internet is in disarray only because he stated that the puzzle parts don't match. Erica's motions, micro-expressions, and pacing were analyzed by a number of body language experts, and their interpretations raised a lot of questions without making any overt charges. Let's just say that the trends they identified are generating conversation. It's not about assigning blame. It has to do with questions that keep piling up every day. The narrative continues to change as more clips are released and more viewpoints are received. And believe me, everything might be completely turned upside down in a matter of seconds with just one fresh perspective. We're delving further into Joe Rogan's astute analysis of the way this whole matter is being handled in this video. We'll go point by point through professional analyses of Erica's body language, contrast it with how spouses typically behave in public, and explain why she became known online as the Happy Widow, a moniker that undoubtedly caused some controversy. However, you must comprehend Charlie Kirk's timeline before we enter Erica's perspective. Because the overall image appears odd the more details you add. Joe can help with that. He's not reading headlines or pursuing rumors. Like an expert, he is verifying each assertion, date, and quotation. Joe goes all out, pointing out instances that just don't make sense and revealing contradictions. The holes very immediately become apparent when you align those clips. The wildest section follows. Joe describes how an elderly man abruptly showed up at the scene and yelled, "I did it! I did it." He then strangely dropped his pants, which, as Joe observes, conveniently put an end to any meaningful interrogation. You are unable to verify motivations, ask follow-ups, or establish a clear time frame, and all of a sudden things become unclear. What are the odds that this same mysterious guy would appear at multiple key moments in this whole situation? Was Joe Rogan's direct query, which caused many people to pause because, from any rational perspective, the odds seem absurd. Returning to the USA family, but I want everyone to be able to view the Medal of Freedom from the rear. The legacy on the back includes all of you. I enrolled in the class for it initially. Yes, but it becomes even more bizarre. According to the official account, the individual in question was only 21 years old and was allegedly utilizing a World War I-era family relic without a tracking code. He allegedly disassembled it, packed the parts into a backpack, ascended a rooftop, and then put it back together as if nothing had happened. That entire series of actions sounds more like a scenario from a movie than it does in real life. We're talking about tools, time, accuracy, and steel nerves, and for some reason, everything went down without a hitch. Individuals are not purchasing that with such ease. For this reason, a lot of people are calling for an open chronology that truly links all the dots. Just hard facts, no presumptions. Here's the worst part. Joe Rogan is not a haphazard pundit speculating from the sidelines. He is an expert on the mechanics. He didn't hold back while dissecting the official version. He explained it in detail, stating that disassembling and reassembling that type of exact tools in-depth knowledge, and true ability would be needed for ancient gear. It's not something that anyone could do so well. It would take hours for even a skilled professional to do that with control and accuracy. And this is the question that keeps coming up. In the first place, how did this young man get to that rooftop? There were no drones, no fences, no obvious guards, nothing obstructing the view, and for some reason, no one noticed. Joe Rogan's response said it all. Unbelievable. He didn't sugarcoat it. The entire setup sounds impossible, like it was written by someone who's never touched real gear in their life, Joe said bluntly. This is exactly how you do it if you want people to stop trusting any investigation. You throw in random strange details that don't line up, and suddenly everything feels suspicious. One confused witness here, a bizarre confession there, a piece of evidence that somehow disappears in the woods, he continued. Before you know it, the truth is obscured by layers of confusion and begins to feel less like coincidence and more like intentional chaos, which is precisely what's causing the current online storm. However, while everyone is occupied with sorting through that mess, a completely different story, one that has nothing to do with timelines or logistics, begins to gain traction. Suddenly, the focus shifts to Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica, and her actions in the days that followed. Just picture your spouse going through something terrible in front of the world. A few days later, Erica appeared on camera at Turning Point USA's headquarters, smiling, composed, and speaking like she was leading a motivational seminar. That's when things really started to heat up online. Most people would be broken, barely eating, barely sleeping, and barely speaking. That's the normal human reaction, right? Love your haircut, love you. However, what people saw from Erica didn't match that expectation at all. Clip frame by frame stating that her tone and body language felt far too positive for what had just happened. Whether that's genuine strength or something deeper, the debate exploded overnight. Every little movement was dissected. Observe her face. She's not grinning in a polite, forced way. Instead, it's a full, radiant smile that seems completely natural. She's proudly holding up Charlie's Medal of Freedom, telling the team how they're all carrying his legacy forward. Her energy is pure excitement, her tone upbeat and self-assured, as if she's hosting a party rather than dealing with a serious issue. Of course, everyone handles emotions differently. Perhaps she's putting on a brave front for the cameras, or perhaps she's still in shock and clinging to optimism to stay focused in public. But when you compare that energy with how most spouses act in the early days after losing a loved one, it's difficult to ignore the difference. One viral comment perfectly captured the tone of the internet. Her. That one line went viral because it expressed exactly what thousands of people were thinking but were afraid to say aloud. However, things didn't end there, not even close. After people began making connections between various videos, the story took an even stranger turn. Another clip appeared that showed Erica arriving at an event by car, this time wiping her face, looking weak and emotional. Almost as if she was suddenly overwhelmed, however. The response to those clips on the internet went beyond sympathy to full-fledged analysis, with viewers urging others to rewatch every second, claiming that something about Erica's expressions didn't quite match real sadness. Naturally, the internet exploded, with comment sections flooded with people calling the moment bad acting or rehearsed tears. There's a lot of weird going on with this. I know. First of all, there was that one guy who was the decoy. Okay, so you got this older guy who starts yelling out, "Didn't he take his pants down?" He took his pants down. This guy made side-by-side edits comparing her facial expressions to movie scenes where actors pretend to cry for dramatic effect. They obviously don't think they know what's going on yet. He was at 911, he was at the Boston bombs, and he called in a phony bomb at another location, and then he did this at this location immediately after. For some reason, this man has the mentality that when someone is shot, he yells, "I did it. I completed it. I don't take his pants down or anything like that. I don't take his pants down or anything like that." This guy got what he deserved, a man wrote. No, he didn't. He engaged in open discussions, which requires bravery. If you disagreed with him, you were free to voice your opinions. What's wrong with this non-military young man? First of all, how did he get to the roof? Why wasn't anyone watching? Why didn't anyone realize that there was a direct line of sight between his seat and those roofs? You guys didn't check, and you don't have a drone. That's crazy. So he's on the roof, and he shoots, jumps from the roof, and falls 14 feet. Yes, we saw that they had video of him jumping. I feel like he's a plant. Someone had a cell phone video of him jumping. This guy, whoever he is, jumps off the roof and lands. I'm not sure if he's the one who shot him or not. Maybe he thought he was going to shoot him. Maybe he's a sigh. It's not about being cruel or demeaning someone, but did you see the person conducting the investigation on his mother's Facebook page? No, you haven't seen this. Have you seen that, Jamie? Some guy online? This mother has a strange Facebook page. It's very bizarre. The odd discrepancy between the situation and the emotions depicted on screen was what viewers kept pointing out. Something just didn't sit right. That gut-level feeling when you can't explain why something feels off, but every instinct is screaming it anyway. That's exactly what people were sensing here, but it's possible that everyone is misinterpreting it. Perhaps this is how Erica handles intense emotions in public. Everyone handles stress differently, especially under such a large spotlight. So let's be honest and put things in perspective. If we're going to question someone's reaction, we should at least know what true, unfiltered emotion looks like. When Kobe Bryant's death shocked the world, we witnessed reactions that showed what true spontaneous emotion looks like when the world stops for a moment. No one can fake that kind of emotion. It's pure, heartbreaking honesty that cuts right through the screen. Now, people are making constant comparisons online. Vanessa Bryant endured unspeakable suffering after losing both her husband and daughter in the horrific helicopter accident that rocked the world. She avoided the spotlight for a long time, and when she eventually made a comeback, the pain was evident. You could see it in her face and hear it in her shaking voice. It was the kind of grief that speaks louder than words. And that's where the comparison begins. On the one hand, Vanessa is struggling to keep her composure. Her eyes are red, her voice is cracking, and she is fighting through unspeakable heartbreak. On the other hand, Erica Kirk is glowing, smiling, and talking about new beginnings, exciting plans, and big things ahead. The difference between the two moments struck people like a lightning bolt. It wasn't subtle at all, it was intense. And that's when social media erupted with a moniker that's now impossible to ignore: the happy widow. Yes, it sounds harsh, perhaps even unfair, but it went viral because so many viewers experienced the same uneasy disconnect when watching those side-by-side clips. We have so many incredible things coming up. Fail and do. I am so excited. I miss you, all of you, every day. I love you. However, let's be honest for a moment. Grief doesn't follow a set of rules. The emotional contrast between Vanessa's obvious pain and Erica's polished composure had the internet questioning everything, regardless of how you spin it. Some people go silent, some throw themselves into work, and some smile through the pain just to stay afloat. But what stood out here wasn't just that Erica's response was different. It felt completely disconnected from any trace of sadness. Days after what should have been one of the most difficult times of her life, viewers witnessed confidence, excitement, and full-fledged optimism about the future, instead of quiet contemplation or obvious mourning. And that's precisely what sent the internet into a frenzy. People weren't just confused. They were simply stunned. It wasn't about criticizing her or suggesting that there was a proper way to cope. It was about the question that no one could shake. Was she even grieving at all? Then came the turning point. USA needed someone to take the helm after Charlie passed away, and that person turned out to be Erica herself. Normally, taking over your late partner's organization would feel overwhelming, emotional, and even heartbreaking for most people, but Erica's energy was completely different. She came in strong, upbeat, laser-focused, and almost celebratory, as if she had already turned the page while everyone else was still processing the first paragraph. Listen to her tone as she talks about hosting the show and continuing Charlie's mission. There is no hesitation in her voice. She sounds bright, confident, and almost energized, and then she says, "I'm excited," not once, but multiple times, like she wanted it to stick. Even though she acknowledges that it's strange to say excited, she keeps saying it. Which felt strange to many viewers because, following such a personal loss, that kind of momentum talk about blessings, projects, and incredible things that lie ahead, only a few days after her husband's murder, she seems incredibly cheerful and upbeat. That appears to be smiles, laughter, joy, and happiness. Many people noticed that Erica was laughing immediately after her husband's murder. Now, I'm not saying she's celebrating. I'm saying it's strange. Throughout it all, Erica's mood remained positive, almost as if she was starting a new project instead of addressing the crowdsourced verdict came quickly. This doesn't look like grief, but rather promo energy. It wasn't a harsh accusation, but it was a bold first impression. And on the internet, first impressions stick, especially when the contrast caused people to hit replay repeatedly. TikTok exploded instantly with creators stitching her clips, zooming in on her tone, her words, and that unwavering smile that never faded. The moment seemed so delicate, but it didn't end there. In a different video, Erica candidly states that she intends to continue managing Charlie's social media accounts in order to preserve his voice and continue posting as him. On paper, this seems like a tribute, as if she is continuing his mission, but to many, it felt complicated. Comments flooded in asking, is posting as him really honoring his legacy, or does it cross a line when the timing is this fresh? The argument became heated. As usual, when opinions start flying, people forget that conjecture isn't proof. This is where expert insight came in. Dr. G, a reputable expert in body language and nonverbal cues, spent hours examining Erica's footage frame by frame, mapping micro-reactions, eye movements, breath rhythm, cadence, and gesture timing. Her conclusion, no firm accusation, just patterns, explained precisely why so many people felt uncomfortable watching Erica's clips. The emotional energy didn't match the context. The most remarkable aspect was that Dr. G saw what she called a Duchenne smile, a genuine, involuntary smile that lights up the entire face, not just the mouth, which is uncommon, natural. And viewers couldn't help but wonder what emotion they were actually witnessing when Erica displayed that kind of genuine smile during such a serious moment. To be clear, we're not awkward, weird, or cringing, and we won't be tweeting as if it's him. That's tone-deaf and really disturbing, and anyone who does that is morbidly off. That's not what's happening. What's happening is that the team is keeping this alive because we have Charlie in all of us, and it will continue to be the North Star of the conservative movement of the voice of the youth of the base. And that will not end. Okay, so earlier we talked about congruity, which sometimes means when something is incongruent with the environment, but other times it's an incongruity between someone's words and behaviors. People who are very empathetic are extremely sensitive to that type of mismatch, and they notice it almost immediately, which is why I think this moment that we just looked, here's where it gets shocking. Dr. G claimed to have seen that exact smile on Erica's face when she was discussing Charlie's dreams and her plans to continue his work. When someone truly feels joy, their entire face lights up, cheeks lift, eyes crinkle, and everything softens naturally. That's known as a Duchenne smile, the real deal that only shows up when the emotion runs deep. Think about that for a moment. Just a few days after her husband passed away, she was exhibiting a genuine happiness response. Not a forced smile, but a genuine smile that reached her eyes. And that's what caused people to pause and repeatedly relive the moment. It didn't fit the typical rhythm of new grief, and according to Dr. G, the body doesn't lie. Erica's emotional signals showed positivity, control, and confidence rather than sorrow or distress. And that immediately set off a much deeper online debate. Was she just proud to carry on Charlie's mission? Or was she compartmentalizing emotions in a way most people can't even imagine? Either way, viewers agreed that it was unusual. Then, when Erica began discussing the show's future, keeping it consistent, staying on schedule, and maintaining structure, everything about her energy changed, and she leaned closer to the camera. Dr. G explained that this behavior screams focus and determination. Someone taking charge, not stumbling through shock. Erica wasn't just saying she would continue Charlie's legacy. She was owning it with full authority. And once more, that's what keeps people fascinated and uneasy because most spouses in that situation are still processing emotion, not projecting leadership energy and business focus within days. Dr. G's observations confirmed what many people on the internet already suspected. Erica's behavior didn't follow the pattern anyone expected, and her reactions didn't follow the classic signs of early grief at all. Instead, they showed drive, composure, and even a hint of satisfaction. None of that is wrong, but it definitely doesn't match what most people expect to see after something so emotional. And just when people thought the story couldn't get any more twisted, another body language expert intervened, and their analysis took things to a whole new level. The expert focused on a specific clip, where Erica stated that she would continue to use Charlie's social media, posting as him to keep his voice alive online, calling that move emotionally disconnected and strikingly inappropriate given the timing. They explained that for many people, pretending to post as someone who has passed away can feel strange, almost like refusing to face reality, and it's not always motivated. The expert did not accuse Erica of anything, but their interpretation added a psychological edge that caused the internet's uneasiness to erupt once more. This is very much a real smile. The way the eyes wrinkle and the way the corners of the mouth go up all match what would be a legitimate smile. So when people are asking, is she acting now? In this exact location? She isn't. That appears to be real. That's where she truly feels good. Charlie, his aspirations, and his legacy are always prioritized in this way. She adds that this keeps his dreams alive afterward. She wants you to know that she intends to continue his dreams, which is why she raised her eyebrows. As she talks about it, she is genuinely experiencing that. Because when we raise her eyebrows, it draws attention to her face, which is what she is concentrating on. You must believe that a large portion of this is unconscious. Therefore, it's not as though she's attempting to act in a way that would allow her to fake all of these things. His dreams and how she's feeling at the moment seem to be closely related to what she's saying. The members will be consistent. We shall therefore be consistent. What's intriguing and unique about her discussion of this topic in comparison to some of her previous topics is that she genuinely wants people to comprehend it. Thus, there is a contrast between this and the initial body language. She was interacting with the others in the room at first, telling stories, discussing Charlie, and feeling wonderful. She is now discussing carrying on the Charlie Kirk shows and Turning Point USA's legacy. This has a certain intensity. I believe she has strong feelings about this. As a result, you are no longer seeing the warmth and smiles in the same manner. That's not being critical either. That, in my opinion, is simply a difference in how serious and obsessive she is about what is she doing? The majority of people wish to remember someone just as they were. Quiet reverence for what already exists, without any fresh words or content. They don't want new posts to appear as though they are from the individual themselves, since that makes people uncomfortable. Erica's energy, however, conveyed a different message at that very time. It's my way of carrying on Charlie's voice and keeping his message alive online, she said with real excitement. It's a risky decision, especially at this early stage. Because of this, viewers are constantly arguing whether it's sincere devotion or something that seems a bit strange. One analyst even went so far as to describe that strategy as unsettling, saying it suggested that the emphasis would be on upholding the platform and brand rather than taking the time to deal with the loss in private and on an emotional level. To be fair, though, that remains merely an opinion rather than a verdict. It's a strong message, and it hits hard when you hear it expressed that way. Let's face it, analysts can only decipher behavior. They cannot read minds, even if Erica's intention was genuinely tribute. Context greatly influences how things appear, and they are not judges of character. A careful, in-depth analysis of the raw material, timing, transitions, staging, and every tiny emotion that causes viewers to feel uneasy or certain that something is wrong is incredibly helpful. And that's precisely what happened next. Fans are now referring to this breakdown as the most insightful analysis to date. Erica's onstage appearance appeared unnerving, according to a TikTok creator who posted a frame-by-frame analysis. It's nearly hard once you see their timestamps and annotations to make them invisible. They begin at the door. Erica is going to the pyrotechnics. During what was meant to be a memorial-style occasion, there were dazzling flashes, dramatic music, and a grand introduction. Without a doubt, that is a risky production decision. The optics landed loudly in front of an already agitated audience, whether it was the event team's decision or hers. Then followed the sobbing breakdown, which ignited the internet. The reviewer actually, like a coach reviewing game tape, they timed each emotional beat. They claimed that Erica's face showed not a single tear track during the parts marked as tears. Not even a trace of makeup movement, no glitter, no streaks, and no watery eyes. Every detail usually stands out under those intense stage lights. But nothing appeared. The critic said that although she didn't exhibit any physical symptoms of crying, her noises and facial gestures effectively imitated it, almost like a performance of emotion rather than real sadness. Viewers were astounded by that one analysis alone, repeatedly watching the video in an attempt to determine whether they were witnessing genuine emotion or something staged. It sounded almost dramatic. The analysis even identified the precise moment when Erica hid her face and the music began to rise. She raised her chin and reset flawlessly on cue-like choreography as the score eased. The reviewer acknowledged another possibility in order to be fair. Perhaps she was so exhausted after days of private feeling that she had no more tears to shed in front of a crowd. That occurs. Individuals handle stress in different ways, particularly when they are under intense public scrutiny and bright lighting. The beautiful arrival, the immaculate makeup, and the perfectly timed gestures, however, gave off an oddly polished vibe when viewers saw those clips side by side. Everything seemed a little too polished, almost practiced. And that's precisely why so many people on the internet found resonance in this analysis. It cannot be unseen. I was about to say that. The work of Erica Kirk behavior is disturbing since it doesn't reflect genuine sadness. It's expressing performance. It's causing an uncanny valley. For example, this woman entered the stage to perform pyrotechnics while timing her body language and sobbing to the song. She then delivers a speech that seems less like an expression of genuine sadness and more like a work of performance art. And when you look at that woman's face, there isn't a single tear running down her cheek or an inappropriate smudge of makeup. She's pretending to cry, but she's not actually crying. Indeed, being emotionally spent can account for the dry tears, which makes the entire situation unpleasant. However, when you combine it with everything else, the cheerful smiles, the positive interviews, the assured tone, and the spark in her voice while discussing taking over the company, you have a picture that many people find offensive. An additional degree of discomfort was created by the dry crying moment, and before long, thousands of responses echoed the same experience. It doesn't seem real. It seems like a performance. It's far more than just gossip at this time. It's a comprehensive digital case study. Fan theories, in-depth video analyses, side-by-side comparisons with other widows, and expert analysts are all mounting. Each highlights contradictions that both captivate and unnerve viewers. It's time to go back to the beginning of it all now. Rogan, Joe. Because Joe is focusing on something far bigger behind the curtain, while everyone else is obsessed with Erica's facial emotions and actions. He's not merely describing her responses as strange. He's implying that the whole thing could be a part of a far more complex narrative that hasn't been fully unraveled yet. Joe Rogan showed no mercy. He claimed that everything about Charlie's death appears fishy. Furthermore, it's possible that Erica's peculiar responses are merely a little hint in a larger, more intricate network. Joe explained it in detail on his podcast. Not only do powerful people conceal information, but they also bury it under turmoil when they want the public to lose hope in ever discovering true answers. Confusion, he clarified, is the true weapon. People finally give up attempting to follow the story because it is so disorganized, with random witnesses added, timelines mixed up, and small details twisted. Consider it. Suddenly, one witness creates a commotion in public. The official reports are constantly shifting on what was used, where it came from, and even how it all worked out logistically. Another alleged suspect also pops out of nowhere. Joe accurately described it as a tempest of noise intended to obliterate clarity. The cover-up turns into chaos. People are unable to quit because of this. Inquiring as to what is actually going on here. Is Erica simply overburdened and taking her time to comprehend the situation? Is she truly in disbelief, grinning while suffering without comprehending how the outside world sees it? Or perhaps she's crying in private while attempting to maintain her composure for the cameras. Is it possible that she is genuinely proud and eager to take Charlie's place and continue his mission? Or, as Joe said, is her behavior a part of a larger, well-planned scheme that extends well beyond her private life? The fact that we don't know the answers makes this whole thing is rather unsettling. When someone is grieving, their anguish usually speaks louder than words. It's palpable through the television. No analysis is required. However, everyone is left wondering the same uncomfortable questions since Erica Kirk's emotional cues are so confused. Does she feel down at all? What do you actually think is happening here? Please share your opinions below. I'm reviewing each and every comment since I would really like to know what you think. Is this profound shock happening right now? Smart PR manipulation at its best, or something quite different lurking in plain sight? As this story continues to develop, if you want to stay informed and turning now, press the like button. Tell your friends about this video and don't forget to subscribe with notifications on, because I assure you that this story is becoming more and more bizarre. I appreciate you watching.